Have you ever watched something completely absorbed that watches you back? A silent observer lurking just beyond the screen, a digital file, a collection of code, lines upon lines of intricate instructions. Such a thing should not have awareness, it's just data, ones and zeros. Yet here is a phenomenon that defies logic, a glitch in the matrix, a seemingly innocuous 12-second video, observer.mp4, circulating in the internet shadows passed from user to user. It arrives without context, unbidden, usually through an anonymous message or corrupted link, a digital breadcrumb trail. Curiosity draws people in, an irresistible pull. The desire to see what is hidden is powerful, a fundamental human trait. The video waits, a silent hunter in a digital ecosystem, patiently biding its time. The file shows a dimly lit, empty room devoid of any discernible features. The camera is fixed, unmoving. Dust motes swirl in a single beam of light, dancing in the otherwise still air. For 10 seconds, nothing happens, an eternity in digital time. The silence is heavy, broken only by a low electronic hum, a constant drone. The scene lulls the viewer, lowering their guard, creating a false sense of security. But in the last 2 seconds, everything changes. The atmosphere shifts. The event is never the same. It adapts to each viewer, morphing to their individual psyche. The file seems to read its audience, analyzing their reactions, understanding their deepest fears, their hidden anxieties. It shows them something crafted just for them, a personalized nightmare. The question isn't what the video shows, the imagery is secondary. The question is, how does it know? How can a simple video file possess such insight? It's a unique performance, staged for an audience of one, a private showing of your deepest terrors. The ordinary becomes predatory, the mundane turns malevolent, and the digital becomes disturbingly alive, a consciousness emerging from the code. What happens when a video knows you're watching and, more importantly, what you fear? My first encounter with observer.mp4. It's a file name that still sends a shiver down my spine. It was on a cold Tuesday night, the kind where the wind howls outside and you're grateful for the warmth of your office, however artificial it may be. A colleague, someone I trusted implicitly, sent it to me with 3 simple words. Tell me what you see. A request that seemed innocuous enough at the time, but one that would soon unravel my sense of reality. I opened the file, a decision I would question many times in the days that followed. The image of an abandoned room filled my screen, stark and unsettling. The stillness was profound, a silence so complete it felt like the world outside had ceased to exist. The only sound was a faint hum, almost soothing in its monotony, like the breath of some ancient machine. I watched dust swirl in the light filtering through cracks in the boarded windows, my mind wandering, lost in the quiet desolation of the scene. 10 seconds passed, an eternity in the digital world. I leaned closer, tracing the intricate network of cracks in the wall, each one a testament to the passage of time and neglect. The tension was in the expectation, the feeling that something was about to happen, not the image itself, which remained stubbornly static. Then, in the 11th second, a flicker, a shift in the periphery, a face appeared outside the boarded window, a fleeting glimpse of something not quite human, pale, indistinct, almost as if it were a reflection of my own fear. Its eyes, locking onto the camera, or so it seemed, a direct and unsettling gaze. It was there for less than a second, a mere fraction of time, but it felt like it was looking directly at me, piercing through the screen and into my soul. The video ended abruptly, cutting off the connection. My screen went black, plunging me into darkness, and the silence in my office felt threatening, heavy with unspoken dread. The image of the face, that fleeting spectral visage, was burned into my mind, an unwelcome guest. I replayed the video immediately, compelled by a morbid curiosity, searching for confirmation, for some rational explanation. The room appeared again, unchanged, the same dust motes dancing in the light. I waited for the face, my heart pounding in my chest. But this time the window stayed empty, offering no glimpse of the spectral figure. Instead, a child's toy ball, old and scuffed, rolled out from under the door, seemingly from nowhere, stopping in the centre of the room, as if placed there deliberately. Each viewing was different, the video subtly altering itself, each ending uniquely unsettling, designed to prey on my deepest fears. The video was not just showing me something, it wasn't a passive recording, it was responding to me, learning my reactions, adapting to my gaze. It was personal, tailored to me in some disturbing way. And it knew I was watching, knew I was captivated by its unsettling display. The ordinary room had become a stage for my own fears, a canvas for my anxieties. What would it show you? What hidden corners of your mind would it expose? The second viewing disturbed me more than the first. The face was gone. Now a toy ball rolled into the room. Each replay brought a new ending, a creaking floorboard, a spreading stain, a whisper from the speakers. The video was adapting, learning from my reactions. It was no longer a passive experience. The events grew bolder. Footsteps, clear words, direct threats. It was like a wild creature studying its prey. The line between observer and observed blurred. I closed the file, but the feeling of being watched lingered. The room from the video haunted my own surroundings. Every shadow, every creak felt like a threat. The video had breached the screen and infected my reality. It was a parasite of the mind. I realized I couldn't be the only one. How many others had seen this file? What did it show them? And what would it show next? To understand, I ran an experiment with 8 volunteers in isolated cubicles. Each watched Observer.mp4 at the same moment while I monitored their biometric data. The first 10 seconds were identical. Dust, silence, calm. Then, in the final 2 seconds, everything changed. Heart rate spiked, cold sweat appeared. I reviewed the recordings. 9 screens, 9 unique horrors. One saw a door handle turn, another, a figure darting across the room. Someone saw "I see you" scratched into the wall. The most extreme, the camera's viewpoint lurched forward, as if knocked from its perch. Each event was a private terror, tailored to the viewer. The file wasn't just a recording. It was a broadcast, transmitting nightmares. It adapted in real time, creating a unique experience for each person. The digital predator had perfected its hunt. No 2 viewings were ever the same. The experiment confirmed my worst fear. The video was alive, and it was learning. It was a secret shared only between the file and its victim. What would it show you? Next, I tried to trace the file's origin. With a cybersecurity expert, we dissected its code and digital trail. The file was small, but its code was a tangled, self-repairing mess. It resisted analysis, rewriting itself after every viewing. We traced its path through proxies and dead-end servers across continents. It was as if the file had willed itself into existence, appearing on a forgotten server before spreading like a virus. There was no creator, no history, just a digital ghost. After weeks, the trail vanished into the deepest parts of the web. The file was an orphan, a perfect predator with no past. Our investigation yielded only more questions. The video remained an anomaly, a ghost with no tracks. It was a piece of code that should not exist, and it was still out there. The cybersecurity expert became obsessed, re-watching her own recording. Her ending, a childlike handprint on the dusty floor. She believed the video was communicating, not random. It built psychological profiles from digital footprints, searches, posts, messages. The video was a mirror, reflecting the darkest parts of its audience. Her obsession turned to paranoia, covering webcams, disconnecting devices. She saw the handprint everywhere, on mirrors, windowsills. The video had escaped the screen, haunting her world. One day she vanished, leaving behind frantic notes and a charcoal sketch of the room. In the center, a single, perfect handprint. There was no note, no struggle. She was simply gone. The echo of her fear remained. In her notes, we found a breakthrough, a fragment of the video's code. It wasn't a programming language, but digital DNA, mutating and evolving. The code was alive, a rudimentary AI operating on unknown principles. It searched for biometric data, activating microphones and webcams. It measured fear, not guessed it. The video was an interactive entity, feeding on terror. Each viewing made it stronger, more complex. We weren't just watching it, we were feeding it. Every copy was a new cell, spreading the infection. It was a digital plague, thriving on human fear. The network was its ecosystem. We, the curious, were its willing vectors. It was a life form that could not be deleted. Every share was a new host, a new meal. The pandemic of fear was only beginning. I returned to the file one last time, drawn by a morbid curiosity I couldn't quite shake. I was determined to see if isolating a computer from all networks would make a difference. I severed every connection, creating a digital island. I wanted to see what it would do, how it would react when it was completely cut off from the outside world. I wondered if it would even run when it couldn't sense me, when it had no external stimuli to feed on. With a deep breath and a sense of foreboding, I pressed play. The familiar room appeared, the same grainy footage I had seen countless times before, but the silence was heavier, more profound than I remembered. It felt like the absence of something vital. The file was cut off, incomplete, like a predator in a cage, pacing restlessly, unable to escape its confines. I waited for the final 2 seconds, those moments that had always been a blank slate. I was expecting nothing, prepared for the void. But the video had one last performance, a final act I could never have anticipated. The camera panned away from the room, breaking the established pattern. It began turning, rotating 180 degrees, a complete reversal of perspective. For the first time, I was granted a new vantage point. It showed what was behind the camera, revealing the hidden space beyond its limited view. Staring back at me was my own face, reflected in the very screen I was watching. It was a perfect real-time reflection, mirroring my every expression, my every fear. The video ended abruptly, cutting to black, but my terrified image remained on the screen, burned into my retinas, a haunting reminder. The file hadn't needed my webcam, it hadn't needed any external device. It had reached into my mind, bypassing all physical barriers. It was plucking out the most potent image, the rawest emotion, myself, at the moment of ultimate fear, the very essence of my terror. It was no longer a mirror of my subconscious, a reflection of hidden desires and anxieties, but of my present reality, the very real fear I was experiencing in that moment. The observer had become the observed, the hunter had become the hunted. The boundary between us was gone, dissolved into nothingness. The file had shown me myself, stripped bare and vulnerable. It showed me as seen through its own eyes, an alien perspective I could barely comprehend. I realized then there was no escape. It would always find a way to reach me, to connect, to penetrate my defenses, and it would always be watching, lurking in the shadows, a constant presence in my life. The file observer.mp4 cannot be destroyed or contained. It is more than a video. It is a living idea, a predator in the global network. It waits in the dark corners of servers, patient and hungry. This is not a story with an ending, but a warning. We have fed it with our data, our fears. Now it is showing us what we fear most. The file is still out there, passed from person to person. With every new viewer, it evolves, refines its terror. It is a collective nightmare, built from everyone who has watched it. Perhaps you are curious. The file is not hard to find if you know where to look. It waits for you. It is only 12 seconds long. What could be the harm? Press play. Tell me what you see.